Welcome to Talaterra, a podcast about freelance educators working in natural resource fields and environmental education. Who are these educators? What do they do? Join me, and let's find out together. This is your host, Tania Marien. Hi, it's Tania. Sometimes I have the good fortune to visit with a past guest to find out how they're doing. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit with Bethan Burton. You may remember that Bethan and I spoke earlier this year when she was busy preparing for International Nature Journaling Week. It was March, and global stay-at-home orders were just beginning to be issued. It feels like it was a long time ago. I asked Bethan about International Nature Journaling Week, and I also spoke with her about her current projects. What is she up to now? Let's join the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me back to chat about all this. Yeah, it feels like a really long time ago that we had a conversation, and a whole lot has happened since then. You're right, when we spoke, I had just 7 people on the blog for International Nature Journaling Week, and I can't remember, but I think there's more than 40 on there now, and the inspiration that came just from the blog itself was just so thrilling. There was a really big build up to it in that there was a lot of people engaged and excited and ready for it, even before it had started because of the blog, and I was gathering folks to the mailing list and sending out messages about what was going to happen. And so the response to the week was absolutely enormous. It was so much bigger than I had hoped or dreamed. We had speakers each day. We had people presenting videos. We had live events from John Muir-Laws and Timothy Pond, who's an amazing illustrator. The buzz was just beyond my expectations. I'm so happy and excited about how it went.
Yes, that is fantastic. I'm so happy for you to hear that it went so well for you. That's exciting. And so how have you kept the conversation going with people you've met during that week?
Yeah, so I have been continuing to communicate with the people who contributed to the blog. And the blog itself actually sparked a whole new endeavor for me in that I had these people contributing, and my idea with the blog was to showcase journalists from across the world. And I think it really did that in that there was people from all over. And the thing that came out of that for me was that each journaler has their own experience with nature and their own way of doing it, their own focus and their own methods, and they're all different. And that's what I found. Even when the authors I didn't give the authors a direction really about what they should write about. And sometimes people chose a similar direction. For example, talking about the way they connect with nature. And even if they were writing on a similar subject, they were all different. And that's what I found really beautiful. Each person has their own way of doing it. And so the blog itself sparked this idea inside me, which was that I wanted to talk more to these people and go deeper into their stories. And so I had this thought that I wanted to make a podcast. And podcasting for me is it's not something I dreamed about. It's not something that I had found to be natural. Had been on your show and that was it. I would call myself an introvert, and yet I want to share stories. I want to connect people. And I feel like that's my role maybe is being a connector. And so I thought, okay, I can do this. And so I have started a podcast, and it's going to be talking to people about their nature connection, the way they nature journal, and the things that inspire them in the natural world. I've got 5 episodes up, and it will be weekly from now. And I have already pre-recorded a bunch of episodes with with nature journalers, and I'm really excited. It's hard for me because I have recorded a bunch and I just want to share them all at once. I have to I have to be restrained and put them out 1 week at a time, but they're so wonderful and they fill me with joy, and I know that they'll bring joy to others, and I want to share them all at once, but I'm trying to be restrained.
Yeah. That is great. And where can people find your show?
So you can look for Journaling with Nature podcast anywhere that you find podcasts generally, or you can find it on my website, journalingwithnature.com/podcast.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you. Going back to International Nature Journaling Week, it's inspired you to do so many things and to carry this forward through your podcast. And so I assume then that you will be doing International Nature Journaling Week again?
Yes. I hope that it's going to just continue into the future. And so we're already planning for next year. And one thing that I felt about this, the one we just had, was that I wanted to be more inclusive in terms of language. And it's difficult because the speakers that I had gathered were English speakers, and yet I want to in some way be more inclusive. And so for Nature Journaling Week 2021, I hope to have some of the resources translated into various languages. And so I looked at the analytics for the website, and people from 94 countries visited the website. So I was thrilled about that. I was thrilled that there was a range of people accessing the website, and I'd like to make it even more accessible, having some different translations available. And that, I know, is going to get complicated really fast, but I want to make some efforts to make it more accessible to more people, because a lot of people don't speak English. Well, the majority of the world don't speak English. And so, yeah, that's one thing that I want to do differently next year. And the whole thing was a bit on the fly. Like, I had this idea and I reached out to a friend of mine, Jules Wolford, and she's a nature journaler too, and she supported me all the way through with so much help, and she just was an amazing support. So she was the one who said, yes, okay, let's do this. Like, I had this idea and I wasn't sure if it was a bit too big or silly, and she said, no, let's do it. And so I didn't know how to organise an international week, but I just was learning on the job. And so there was a lot of things that I did that I might do differently next time. Or the main thing would be maybe to be a bit more organised ahead of time. Because I did a lot of late nights arranging things on the website and whatnot on the fly as it was happening. So next year, watch out. There's going to be lots of things happening, making it more accessible to different languages in different countries, and hopefully be more organised.
Well, if that was on the fly, then you did that very well.
Thank you.
The webpage is beautiful. The newsletter is beautiful, and it was so informative all the way through, that week.
Thank
and
you.
Since then as well. So, oh goodness. Yeah. And I have no doubt, if you are that far ahead with your podcast episode, I have no doubt that you'll be well ahead of yourself planning next year's event.
Yeah, we started planning straight away.
Oh, good. And for June again?
Yes, same dates. Yeah.
Same dates, exact same dates. Okay.
The thing about the whole thing was I just felt I was floored by the response. I really was amazed. Even before it had started, I was feeling like this has momentum, like people are getting involved already. Everyone was super happy to help and to hear what was going on. The whole thing had a real buzz about it, even from the beginning. And more than anything, it just made me realize how much we need nature and how much the wider community, there's always been this sort of nature niche, but I think now the wider community are realizing, yeah, we need nature and we need to connect. And I hope that it was a chance for people to connect. But that was my takeaway, was that the world is waking up to the fact that we actually do need nature.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is one of the, as people have called it, the silver lining of this whole global event, is that people are seeing that, feeling that. More importantly, they're feeling that for themselves. Yeah, yeah. I read your post from early April in which you describe how laying down on the grass changed how you were feeling about being in isolation and sharing space with 9 other people. And you so beautifully described the things that you saw and while you were laying down on the grass and looking up at the sky and all that. You write beautifully, and
Thank you.
you speak beautifully as well. I mean, you really do. You really are you have a very calming demeanor that really transfers well.
Isn't that funny? People have said that since the podcast release, and it's not something I would have said about myself because I'm Australian and the Australian accent is not what I would describe as a calming accent. But people have said that, and it's very nice to hear. So thank you.
Sure. Now, I've noticed on your website that you started the Brisbane Nature Journaling Club. Did that exist in March, or did I miss it?
No, it's very new. We've just had one meetup, and it's something that I've been thinking about for a very long time, and I think I have more ideas than I do have time and space to execute them. So I was inspired by a friend of mine, Amy Kirkbright, who founded and is running the Melbourne Nature Journal Club. In fact, she connected with me through International Nature Journaling Week, and then I just noticed that she had started this club, and I wrote to her and said, hey, we're Australian, we have the same goals, can we Skype? And we did. We had a conversation on Skype, and by the end of the Skype we were profound friends. And this is just something that keeps happening to me, and it's amazing in that I keep reaching out to people in this community, and through a conversation about nature and the things that we love and the things that we have in common, a friendship blossoms, and it's just so beautiful. And so I learned some stuff from Amy. So Melbourne at the moment is in lockdown. Brisbane, where I am, is not, and I'm very lucky for that. But so in Melbourne, they're in lockdown and they can't have their Nature Journal Club meetings in person. So she's doing it through Zoom, which is just so cool. What they do is, the format is they come together, they have a little prompt and a chat about nature, and they do some exercises together online, and then they go away and they spend some time nature journaling in their own backyard or whatever they're able to access, and then they come back and they share what they've done. And it's such a beautiful format, a really sort of wonderful workaround for how to have a nature journal club remotely. And so I was inspired by her, and luckily I am able to gather with my community. And so we had our very first meeting that I arranged was rained out, which is unusual for Brisbane. But we had our first one last week, and it was beautiful. It was amazing to connect with people in the community, and I'm hoping that will just grow and grow too. Another little seed planted that's going to grow into something beautiful, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Were there mostly individuals, families?
There was mostly individuals, and one mum with her little one who was a year old, and he was a delight. He was going around and chatting to people in his own little baby language, and she did so well. She completed a bunch of different journal pages with him climbing on her and spilling paint and stuff like that. She did so well. But that's what I want it to be. I want it to be open to everybody, and young and old, and that was, it was special that they were there.
Very nice. So is your plan to go to a different location every month?
Yes. I will try to spread the locations around the city so that some people don't have to drive too far to the north and south. And so that's my job at the moment, has been keeping an eye out for good spots. So the way I did it was that I had a big rug, and I had everyone on the rug and paints and paper and everything laid out, and then people could wander away and come back. So I'm looking for good spots that have accessible nature and also place that we can spread out. I also want it to be a bit of a social time as well. So I had my cups of tea and that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm excited about the community that can grow from this. And I think it will take some time, but I think it could grow into something beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I think so. And with cups of tea as well. That sounds lovely. In the event things change and you're unable to meet in person, how do you think you might continue this online or in some hybrid form, if that's an option?
Yeah, I think the model that's going on at the moment, there's a few nature journal clubs that are doing online at the moment, and I think it's a really good model to have a bit of a coming together on Zoom and then going away and coming back to share. I think the sharing is a really important element of the whole thing, and you can learn a lot and, like John Muir says, steal ideas from each other. And then, yeah, I think there's like opportunities for building community through like sending messages of prompts that you could do during the week. I'm not a Facebook sort of fan, and so I haven't got good at communicating through Facebook, but there must be a way of like bringing people together to share ideas through the month or through the week and then coming together for that one online meeting. Yeah, there's different ways. I'll have to explore that. I'm hoping we're not going to go down that road, but we never know.
Yeah, we never know these days.
Yeah, it's all a bit strange, isn't it?
So this is wonderful. I love hearing that everything worked out. Your on-the-fly monster event, week-long event, worked out. It led to you having all sorts of new relationships, and that led to you starting a podcast to share these relationships with so many other people. And love that you are preparing for the second annual International Nature Journaling Week. And I also saw that you will be teaching at Wild Wonder this year.
Yes, my goodness. Oh, I was so honored to be asked and so excited. I'm going to teach a class, or rather a virtual field trip, and it's going to be called Colours of Australia. And I chose this topic because I just am... it brings together two things that I absolutely love, which is Australia and everything in it, the wildlife and the flora and the fauna, the whole thing, and also colour. I'm just passionate about colour and colour mixing. And I think this came because I have been doing art for a really long time, and yet for the longest time I had no idea about colour, in that I would just get my paint box and I would try and mix, but had no real idea about what I was doing, and it was intuitive, and sometimes I would hit the mark and lots of times I wouldn't. And then it was only a couple of years ago that I realized this is silly, like I have to learn. And I actually made a concerted effort to learn about color theory and color mixing, and it was like this whole world opened up to me, and I realized that I've been just walking around in the dark with color theory, with color mixing for all these years, and it doesn't have to be like that. And so I've got this knowledge now that is just like, it's simple knowledge. But I guess the main thing is when we're in school, we're taught that the primary colours are red, blue and yellow. And this isn't true. So when you realise that the primary colours really are cyan, magenta and yellow, you can start to do a whole bunch of new things. And now one of my favourite things is to go out into the landscape and pick something and try to colour match that with just 3 simple colours. And so the class that I'm teaching at Wild Wonder is going to bring together these. So I will have some videos and photographs and chat about the landscape in Australia, which is really unique and amazing in the colours that we have. There's these really rich reds and earth colours and ochres and really muted greens, this beautiful, amazing greens of the eucalyptus leaves. And so I am really excited about exploring just the colours in the landscape. And then I will weave this in with colour mixing. So I'll stop and we'll explore the colours in one landscape and mix up those colours together. So, yes, I'm excited about doing this.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Now, when we last spoke, you had mentioned that you were thinking of writing a book about
Yes.
documenting the flora and fauna of Australia. Is that still an idea that you would like to do?
Yes, it's definitely one of my big ideas that are on my ideas list. No, I have actually been going into that more, but it is, there's been International Nature Journaling Week and then the podcast, and I had this sort of realization that someone said something about if you want to build a bridge to cross a river, you just have to focus on one bridge. If you build 5 bridges, you're going to have 5 half-finished bridges and you're not going to get across the river. And so I've realized this about myself, that I have too many ideas and that I have to build one bridge at a time. So the bridge I'm building at the moment is the podcast, and this book about Australian flora and fauna it's the project closest to my heart, and it's a big one. So I am working on it. My mind is percolating over it. And right now I'm just building a podcast bridge.
Yep, that's smart. Those are very wise words.
I can't remember who said that, but it's stuck with me. Because I have a tendency to be a little bit I'm very excited about lots of different things, and you don't make good progress when you do it like that.
No, yeah. Yes, I have a quote from the book Art and Fear.
Yes, I love this book.
Yes. And I had quotes from the book on my walls and stuff. And one of my favorite quotes from them is, when you chase 2 rabbits, you catch neither.
Yes, right? Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly the same sentiment. I love this book. Isn't it funny that, art and fear is such a big thing. It's such a big part of my nature journaling work, in that so many people have these emotional wounds about art. We have so much trouble releasing our fears, and it's amazing to me that it's so ubiquitous that there's a whole book written about this phenomenon. But my favorite quote from the book is, for the artist, making good art is about making lots of art. And that's what I try to tell people, which is just like John Mueller says. He says, just put in the pencil miles. I love this, pencil miles, because it's the same thing. Just do it and do it and do it some more, and it's going to come.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with you as a guide, people will be nature journaling all over the place.
Thank you, Tania.
So thank you so much for your time today, and for sharing what you're up to right now, and for creating a new bridge, this podcast bridge, for us to continue learning from you and from others.
Thank you. And I hope you know that you're a huge inspiration and the main inspiration for the podcast. So thank you. Thanks for everything that you do.
Oh, well, thank you. Very kind. Thank you, Dad.
Thanks, Tania.
To learn more about Bethan, International Nature Journaling Week, the podcast Journaling with Nature, and the Wild Wonder Nature Journaling Conference, visit the link in the show notes. Talaterra is a podcast for and about independent educators working in natural resource fields and environmental education. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with friends and colleagues. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Tania Marien.